what we've got in the schedule now is a planning session. So this is now the last slot of the conference. So we're coming up right to the end. And so this is normally where all of the sort of core developers stand. Oh, there's a little bit of noise. We might, hang on, we've got a microphone still on there. All fixed?
Yeah,
so,
it was Georgie unmuted.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, James. So we normally call this our roadmap session. And so what we do is we normally stand around a whiteboard, the last 4 years we have anyway, and the last 3 years. And we sort of, the developers make some pledges as what they're planning to work on in the next year. And we try to work out a bit of a roadmap. And so perhaps we should show actually, first of all, the roadmap that we ended up with in the previous year and see how we ended up doing. Because there was a number of items on the roadmap that we didn't quite get to in the last year, though we did get to a lot of other things. And let me see if I can find that. You might have it handy as well there, James. James is often the person who keeps us organized with these things.
Yeah, so Tridge, what I've done is to put the link up that you just talked about, the roadmap from last year. Randy's done that too. I've also created a Google spreadsheet that I emailed around to the dev Skype earlier on this afternoon that basically replicates the 2019 roadmap into one sheet, has just a dumping place for new ideas for this year, and then the commitment sheet for just there. That link is open edit for anyone who's got the link. So please, anyone who's on this call, feel free to jump in the middle of those with just good ideas, requests. Don't have to be a developer to put something in that middle sheet. Whether a developer picks something up or not, that's really up to the developers to commit to what they've got time for and what they're interested in. I hope I didn't steal too much of your thunder there, Tridge. I'll hand back to you.
No, that's fine. If you like, it's really, we don't have a particular structure for the way we do this. We can see that a few of the things that we had on there from last year, we did get done. So the CAN ecosystem ramp up, the plan, so we got a lot of the CAN stuff done. And so I think now CAN is in much better shape than it was, though I think there is still some work that needs to be done to improve that. The FD-CAN support, so we have, we can use an FD-CAN device, but not in FD-CAN mode. And so that's one that Sid has put his hand up for. So given he's already committed to that, do we have a section for Sid down here? Given he's not here, should we just put everything under Sid? All right.
Phil, so put a comment on that, tagging Sid to do the work. Just write his name there. We can tidy it up later, Andrew. It doesn't just.
Yeah, Sid. All right. Okay.
You know, maybe right now I think it says Tridge and Peter B. Let's fit in there too, maybe.
Yeah, and I might start adding. I might add some rows for like 2020 pledges Tridge, and the key things I want to have the extend maximum mission size. So I want, that's one that's actually not a very big job. It's one we wanted to do for a while, to be able to have much larger missions.
Tridge, where are you typing?
In the scratchpad, into the, I should probably share my screen so that this actually turns up somewhere.
I mean, I see, I'm looking at the scratchpad. I don't see you typing anywhere though.
Ah, that's odd. So anyone else seeing that I've added, see that there on my screen?
Okay, yes, I see it now. Thanks.
And are you also seeing it on yours? It just might be a synchronization issue.
Yeah, I see it.
All right.
Carry on.
So extending the mission size is definitely one we want to do. I still want to do the bidirectional D-shot. And so that hasn't happened yet.
Tridge, if we're doing the extended mission max, did you want do you think we should do the variable size mission storage that we talked about like 3 something years ago?
That'd certainly be nice. We just need to think. By the way, my power is a bit dodgy here. I just had a momentary brownout. So if I get dropped off the network here, then somebody else will have to take over. I might actually make somebody else the host of this call, given I clearly have quite a dodgy link here at the moment. Let me see if I can. I need to stop sharing actually to do that. Become the new host. You got a good link, or should I make it Randy?
I've got a good link. There is an electrical storm kicking off though, which could be what is hitting
I
you.
might make it Randy then, if that's all right. So Randy, congratulations. You are now the host.
Thank
Just
you,
in
Rob.
case, I'll still share my screen and things and try and be part of it, but I've had 2 little flashes where my lights flickered, so I wouldn't be surprised if I'm losing power shortly. A bit of a thunderstorm coming through. Definitely, yeah, we just haven't thought of a good algorithm for doing that efficiently. And so if we come up with that, then great. Otherwise, just expanding the size would be good.
Yeah, I just figured because that's if it's going to do a major mission planner or mission memory redo, then this would be a good opportunity at least. But yeah.
Yep. A fairly easy one is mission VFS download, fast mission upload. I want to be able to start using the VFS because it's the new toy, and it's like I found a hammer and everything looks like a nail. So I might remove some of these old ones. The sensor reordering was really the compass reordering. That's one that Sid did. So I might just remove that because that's basically done.
Rather than remove Trid, can you just drop the ones that you're cutting out that have been done into the completed 2019, and that way when we update the wiki,
there's a complete.
Trying to make it
over here. Right.
Yeah, it was actually a little
Okay.
confusing when I saw that because it looked like
Yeah,
2019.
I'm slightly confused. I'm a bear of very little brain. Can't work these things out. So, okay, open for suggestions here. I've just sort of tried to work my way through. Right. That's my wife's phrase, by the way. She likes that from Winnie the Pooh. And
I think somebody did ask for barrow reordering.
yes, well, the Barrow ID is the first thing to do, which is the really easy one, and then Barrow reordering we would then be part of that, and we really need the IDs primarily because without the IDs we can't really do the reordering in any sensible way. So really Barrow IDs should work much the same way as the IMU IDs. So let's move that there, and I'll just insert some more rows here. So one of the things is the high performance is going to be coming very soon. I've got one on my desk already that I've been working on the driver for. And related to that is CAN IMUs. So I really want to be able to have a tiny IMU board using one of these ADIS 16470 sensors as a CAN module that you can add to any autopilot, because that'll allow people to upgrade their IMUs to these really high quality IMUs on their existing vehicles. And I should say that Philip Cockermood is already working towards this. And I think it's going to be a brilliant little module. Now, what else have we got that we are looking at the moment? One of the big things is, I don't know if we should put it under general team or Paul or whatever. I think we want to move to a single EKF, at least in some of the builds, and change the default EKF to be EK3. Where do we put that?
Well, those are 2 separate things, right?
There is a well, for the last go on, sorry.
There's getting the missing features from. We need to talk about what we need to bring across from EKF2 to EKF3. That's not there at the moment. The only thing I can think of is possibly is optical flow for height on EKF3. I forget now. If not, I'll get that in the next month or so. And the other item was the support for the external nav, the limited functionality we have.
So something I want to do in fixed wings is I want to add the filter target, filter D parameters, very similar to what Leonard did for Copter, into the plane, just so they're sort of familiar, to allow some shaping of, because I always get annoyed in the logs just the way the target changes by 90 degrees in one sample, which is, and then so you sort of see a discrepancy, and it really should move the target in a physically, possible manner. That's something I should talk to you about, Paul. I had an idea of doing it just the same way as Leonard did it.
Why don't you just use a man's filter and just swap to the Copter the PID?
It's a possibility. It's the compatibility with people's existing things, and it's probably something that Paul, you and I should discuss. I mean, we could have a big switch over to using those Copter PIDs. I'm not sure.
I think they're pretty well equivalent with just with extra filtering. So
as long as it phase, you can provide a filter with equivalent group delay strategy, then the phase margins will be the same. And if it happens to come with less noise, well, nobody's going to complain about that. Nobody's going to say, I really missed the noise on my motor drives.
It's more the parameter conversion and things. We need to work out a strategy for that. And if we can work out a good strategy for a parameter conversion, then I think
Are you talking about parameter
doable.
Conversions for filters or parameter conversions for gains? I thought you were talking filters.
Gains. So pitch controller. Leonard wants us to use the that's what you're talking about, isn't it, Leonard? To actually use.
Yeah, I was suggesting that you actually pretty much use the same PID object that Copter uses.
That's not going to work because we've got some peculiarities with the fixed wing controllers that you're not taking into account.
I don't believe so. That it's
you've seen the feed for some of the things we got with the. All right, I'll talk to you about that offline because I think you're missing something.
Yeah, I've done it specifically within it's just that we do. I have actually said changed slightly how you handle it. So yes, I am aware of that. And
all right, let's have a talk after this thing because it'd be nice to get back to the core element being the same. But yeah, there's got to be some a pretty flexible structure to be able to handle the differences.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the linear versus the square application of the gain scaler for what P and D, isn't it, Paul? Is that right?
Yes, that's right. In different parts of the feedback loop, depending on whether you're talking about the damping term, which scales differently to the acceleration term.
Yep, saw that, and that's why we pass it into our motor mixers as two separate components for exactly that reason.
Right.
All right. So, okay. So, ideas from the floor here. Wish list.
I think one that's not there that we talk about quite a bit is reinvigorating an SDK or API. And
you're thinking a Maveling based one, or are you thinking something else?
Well, I think it doesn't really matter what it is, to be honest. Obviously, DroneKit is there, and that could be reinvigorated if someone wanted to take it on. Mav SDK is also off to the side that could be plugged in if we, if we get support to do that. or we could do something completely different if we wanted to. But I think it is something that's missing from the ecosystem at the moment.
Have to be Lua, right?
Yeah, Lua is not really the. It's actually quite different than Lua, right? Because Lua is an onboard interface, whereas you know, the Mav SDK or DroneKit, that's all for, you know, companion computers. So yeah, Lua is not really a good substitute, I think.
Kind of parallel to that is thinking about ROS 2. So I know that Randy's done a lot of work this year increasing the ROS integration, but ROS 2 is obviously right around the corner. You know, it's already out there and live, and we haven't started looking at integrating that at all really since the RTPS PR kind of died a couple of years ago.
Has Jaime looked at that all?
I looked at ROS a little bit, but it was more like Pierre and those guys and Hamey who really banged away at it. I guess I did some work on the Artipilot side to make it work a little better, and I guess Peter did a little bit as well, right? With the time stuff. Peter and maybe Tridge getting the time stuff.
Yeah, I did a little bit
I did the Gazebo lockstep scheduling many years ago, but I so rarely use ROS and Gazebo that I haven't really kept up to date. And I think really we do need some improved documentation for how to sort of get started. One of the difficulties I've always found with ROS and Gazebo is they tend to want you to be running a particular version of a, you know, Ubuntu Linux. So if you're running, you know, 1804, then at the time I last looked, it was sort of guiding you, oh, just go and install this other version of Ubuntu in order to run it. I'm thinking, I've got to change my operating system to install this simulator. It was pretty frustrating. But yeah, it could just be that my lack of familiarity with ROS Gazebo is coloring my perception of it.
Yeah, I'm afraid, you know, yeah, we need somebody who is not, you know, me or Tridge or Peter or somebody to, you know, take on, you know, somebody who's more interested in improving the interface with ROS and ROS 2. You know, for me, like I filled in the sheet already with the things that I'm looking at focusing on this year, and you know, at least for the next like 6 months or something. And it's more like you know, things that I presented, you know, the 3D bendy ruler, you know, improving our integration with the T265, you know, with help from Patrick, and you know, trying to get seamless GPS to non-GPS navigation working, you know, so you fly under a bridge and it works fine. You know, GPS when you're out from under the bridge, you know, T265 or something equivalent when you're under the bridge, and kind of being able to move back and forth.
Have you looked at the A-star algorithm that could replace both bendy ruler and Dijkstra?
I know that you mentioned it, but yeah, it's not really on my to-do list.
Yeah, because we've been going all over these two, bendy ruler and Dijkstra, and I believe that we could replace it successfully with A-star.
I don't think so. At least for me, the key reason I developed bendy ruler was that none of them that I looked at, including A-star and Dijkstra as others, could handle that where the objects you're avoiding are moving at potentially at much higher velocity than your main vehicle. And it's that dynamic one where you get objects appearing and disappearing, and they've got high velocity. So it's a very dynamic environment. I didn't think any of the existing algorithms handle that at all. And that was, I know we don't do that in the current bendy ruler that's in master, but that was the key motivation for developing it in the first place, because, you know, when...
Yeah, sorry, no, the bendy ruler, it handles dynamic objects. It doesn't handle the dynamic
velocity
objects that are, that know their own velocity and can tell you their velocity. So it doesn't
Yeah.
handle that, but
Yeah.
you can walk
I
in
know it
front
could
of
be
it,
re-added.
it could be re-added. It's
Oh
just,
yeah.
it wasn't,
But
it
I mean,
wasn't,
I think A star would get us into a position where we couldn't have that.
yeah. For me, whether A star is better or not, it's just, at this point, I've got these other things that that they're already on my to-do list and going to keep me busy for 3 to 6 months. So like taking Bendy Ruler, making it 3D, making copters and rovers back away from objects, and that whole GPS non-GPS stuff that I was talking about. And also we talked about in during the slides and also during Hayden's presentation, making it so that you can offboard, so we can offboard our navigation or our path planning to like ROS or something else. I can work on that, but I don't really want to go back and rework something that I kind of already did unless, until some of these other things are done.
Yeah, and once that Lua plugin that Randy discussed in his talk is done, where we can have a Lua script as the avoidance component, then we can start getting people, contributing an A star or a Lua Dijkstra or, other fancy ones, because I think it's going to be perfectly doable in Lua as long as we provide the maths library that can do the heavy lifting for the low-level maths operations.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. Once we can, oh, my background's going crazy. I totally agree that, once we set up the infrastructure, like Tridge was talking about, then it'll be easier for people to add in other algorithms, whether they're going to implement it in Lua or C++ or ROS. I think it'll be easier one way or the other.
Yep. And I think we'll end up getting, students doing, like honors and PhD projects doing new avoidance systems as Lua scripts, as add-ons. I think it'll provide a great research environment to be able to do that really easily. And then we'll end up getting it advancing fairly quickly.
But if somebody else wants to, do A star, it's all open source. Anybody can pick it up and do it.
A stars doesn't give you anything much, so I wouldn't get too hung up on it.
Well, while there's a lull, can I get everybody to just scroll down in that 2020 page and see if there's anything still around from 2019 that you're sure has been done?
We'll take off mode.
Yep.
In plane is done.
Yeah, if you can delete it or move it to the 2019 tab for anything that you're sure is done.
All right, so I remove those and then go to 19, and then I add in under plane down here. So, okay, I think I've done that. And then I can delete row, I think. All right. So automatic taxiing, I really did want to do that one, but I'm not sure I'll get to it this year either. Though it does look like a lot of fun to do it. I'd like a much better real flight quad plane model. And so I'd like one of a sort of a really decent quad plane, and maybe even a couple of them. So just for doing testing and things, it's a lot more fun when the vehicle actually looks like a quad plane. You can see the motors. I know it seems trivial, but it is nice. Now, what else we got?
I have a remote ID on there. I'm working on that right now.
Okay, great. Yeah, I saw the chat you were having on Slack. So that's really good. Thanks for doing that, Tom. And
put me down for fixing replay, I guess.
Excellent. Yes. Now, where does that go? Hardware OS support EKF, under EKF. Fixing replay, fixing, not fixed. Fixing replay, and I'll put P2B. Excellent. For some reason, the font went really big for that one. Well, it is very important.
Seems to be getting bigger each row. What the hell?
Yes, I know. It's this odd feature, isn't it? James has got it. All right. So, so the 265, I'd really like to be able to have like the T265 feeding into external algorithms, so we can directly compare the T265 SLAM with T265 image output to external VO. So that's what was discussed a bit in Rob's talk this morning. And again, the font went really big there. Do your magic, James. Thank you. So, because I'd love to be able to have direct comparisons of different algorithms. And obviously the benchmark at the moment is the T265. So I sort of want to be able to have the T265 output its images to the Pi, and then the Pi do its own VO algorithm, and we actually run them in parallel so we can directly compare.
And I see, Tridge, how you're adding things onto Randy's list.
Well, it's just because it's under the avoidance, and he already had T265 in there. So
Yeah,
I feel like what we need to do is actually remove the names and just have the column of names, and because
we
just put it all under Tom.
Well, I was gonna say we should add somewhere here, reduce pull request list down to 100, but
yeah,
I don't want that under me.
I prefer looking at the ratio of closed.
I'd rather do the entire other list than not the pull request list.
This is like the pledge list. So you the point of the pledge list, of course, is that you pledge what you're going to do. It's not an opportunity to like say, hey, let's get Tom to do this, or let's get Louis to do this. The point is you put down what you're going to do. Or what you want to do. It's not like a contract written in blood.
Well, and then it's a good thing I'm here.
Get that off Randy's list.
It's a good thing I'm here, because if you're not here, we just slap someone's name on here, right?
No, the names were from the wiki. So the names were just left over from when I pulled things across from the wiki earlier on.
No, I mean like Sid is on here.
Better change headset. Hang on.
I'm just teasing.
All right, I'm back on the other headset. I was running out of battery on that headset.
I'd just like to get back a minute to the integration of the 265 with the Raspberry Pi.
So that's Patrick, is it? You're very faint. Is that Patrick in the distance there?
Yes.
So you were talking about the T265 image output. I couldn't quite understand you. Sorry, Patrick.
Okay. I just want to emphasize on the fact that the T265 is not a VO but an IO. So you have to integrate the IMU as well.
Yeah. So really, I was thinking we'd just grab the image data and then we'd use the IMU from the main RGPilot board, as long as we can time align them.
You have to synchronize the system somehow, so this is why the IMU can keep the beat on that.
Yes, but as long as the image data is time stamped, then we should be able to time synchronize it. We can use the anti-jitter algorithm that we've got to basically help with the time alignment, then add a constant time offset. And we should be able to use the IMU data from the autopilot with the image data. I assume that the image data is time stamped?
From the conversation we had here, yes, we can extract that, but once again, we have to make sure that the timestamping PR for the external systems is up to date.
Yeah, it doesn't need a global timestamp. I'm not sure whether I've ever shown you, Patrick, the system we use, the jitter correction system, where we can convert between time domains. So we can take a timestamp in the camera's time domain and we can convert it to a timestamp in the autopilot's time domain while removing the jitter. And that's what I was thinking we'd use. And then we just have a parameter for the constant lag and then remove the jitter with that system. So I think it is doable, but I might have to show you that that jitter and time domain transfer algorithm that we've got.
Yes, I know we worked on that on the last year, but here you have a real a good test case for this PR.
Yeah, look, time handling is going to be one of the really key things to get right. But I think it's definitely worth trying. I might chat to you separately another time about the details. First thing I've got to do is get myself a T265 because I don't actually have one. So that's a
well,
prerequisite.
Fridge, when you're having visitors, I've got one set up here.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, I sort of need one to play with. They've got them in at ANU as well, and I was planning to do this in conjunction with the ANU group because they really want to be able to do these comparisons. So I'll probably work with Ryan Pike, who's on the call here, and Peter, and others. P-I-E-T-E-R, the third Peter, Peter Van Gore, and hopefully get that running.
Great. I'm really happy that everyone is jumping into the vision odometry. I think we're going to make great improvement this year. Thanks.
I hope so.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'd like to get that AirSIM integration a lot better as well. So you saw that Rajat published an AirSIM binary with a pre-built environment in it. And I'd really like to get an environment that has a nice complex environment that's good for visual odometry, published so that you can easily run it without. So that's Ryan and Rajat. I think Rajat's likely to work with us on that. So Ryan, did you put your own name down against that one?
Yeah, I did.
You did. Great. Okay. Good. Just making sure nobody else volunteered you for it without asking. But I'm sure Rajat would be keen.
Hi, I want to ask if any plans for update AP Beacon library and the interface.
Well, I think once we hear more about what Giorgio and the Luminous B project is doing, then there could easily be changes there. But I'm not sure whether that actually will go via AP Beacon or not. Are you using AP Beacon in Vim drones there?
I'm trying to build a TDOA system. It's a reverse one, not calculating in the drone, because I want to use the new Decaway 1003 module. It has a Cortex N0 system inside. It's not much calculation power, but I can calculate the position in the server and then send back to the drone by UWB or Wi-Fi or other way. So that would be good if have a common AP Beacon interface with only SYJ insert to the Utah or Utah interface, because using fake GPS seems not a modern way to do, because I think there will be more manufacturing to have a common protocol to do this. I have checked the AP Beacon library. Now have post SYJ and Maomai. They also have many codes inside the autopilot, but the data itself seems like the same and use SYJ and range to the anchors and the anchor position. But I don't see any position calculating algorithm inside the autopilot, so I am feel confused about how autopilot use the range data and the anchor position data. So I think for a standard TDOA system, no matter reverse or not reverse, I think it's only output the SYJ data. Yeah, that's my question.
So regarding the Decawave, I've got some of the Decawave 1001 modules here, and I got them going, but they were a bit disappointing. They were disappointing both in their range and in their accuracy. And then there was a vendor I was working with that was using them and switched away because there was a regulatory problem, at least in the United States. You weren't allowed to use ultra wideband on flying vehicles. At least that was their interpretation of the FAA ruling. So I sort of lost interest a bit in the Decawave products, but maybe other people's experiences have been better.
I have not heard of that.
The Decawave 1001, they only support the TWR way protocol, so they are very limited in the. They are not cannot use in the TDOA system. Yeah, but the 1003 is I think it's much better for TDOA tag.
Okay.
Yeah, and it also depends what part of that 3 to 6 gig band you configure them to operate on and the power output. So it varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. You just got to work your way through the spectrum management documents to make sure you're within the class license.
Yeah, this company was trying to use them for landing, so they wanted them at sort of ranges of like 40, 50 meter type range, and it worked, but it didn't seem to be able to be done within the specs of the FCC regulations in the US.
Yeah, same thing happened here in Japan actually. So Eames Lab, was keen on them for a bit, but then and we kind of got it working. Paul got the AP beacon working, but then yeah, the law stepped in. Not that somebody showed up, but just we couldn't get it to work legally. So.
Yeah. So if somebody can come up with a solution which you can configure it to work in a good range of jurisdictions and give decent performance, that'd be great, because it has a lot of potential. I found that the actual positioning performance, just using the onboard positioning algorithm, the one built into the 1001, and I wasn't trying to do it offboard. I was just using it's got a built-in positioning solution, and then you can just access it over Bluetooth. And the positioning accuracy was quite disappointing.
If people want to volunteer, I guess anybody can can access the documents, open documents. So just feel free to jump in there and stick something in if you want to. We're not going to.
Yes, I'm the first one to join.
Cool.
Yeah, I will join that. Yeah.
I'd just like to add that the new Bluetooth 5.1 will have the ability to track object now.
Patrick, I've added your name into the improve reliability of T265 integration. So you and me, because I think that's what we're doing right now.
Okay, thanks.
I've just added in the high-speed USB support, which is the support for the new USB mode that's available on the NORA, because I'd really like to be able to download logs very fast. And the other one that's been discussed a little bit is to support Ethernet. And that is also a reasonable alternative for really fast log download.
Ooh, fancy. There are definitely some people who get I know of at least 1 or 2 developers who are really keen on Ethernet, and they'll pick their flight controller based on whether it has that or not.
Yeah, Ethernet's, particularly for the larger industrial drones, I think Ethernet's a really good choice. The reason I like the USB is sort of because pretty much every laptop has a USB, USB-C port on it these days, but quite a few laptops don't have Ethernet ports on them. And so, USB-C, high-speed USB, to me, would give a they have broader applicability within the community, but less so within the industrial drones, I think.
The internet is mostly because of the high-powered devices that you can connect to internet port.
Yeah, there's some lovely Ethernet cameras and things that are interesting for triggering cameras, and Ethernet does seem to be the high speed transport of choice on large vehicles.
Yes, especially for the Giga E cameras. Yes.
And on small vehicles, the high-speed transport of choice is Wi-Fi.
Yeah, although it'd be nice for Wi-Fi to be faster than it is at the moment, because we're limited by the UART at the moment.
Yeah, well, a high-speed USB-C bus with a Wi-Fi dongle on the end of it is similar.
We might be able to push the UARTs up to say 4 megabit or so and get a bit more speed out of our Wi-Fi.
Sorry, I just put a link on the new Bluetooth 5.1 direction finding features. I think it's going to be a direct replacement for all the location indoor positioning system.
Can you put a link into that as well? Which section is that under, and where is that? I'm trying to find it.
There's no link for the moment. That this is for indoor localization system. We just talked a few minutes ago.
I'm just trying to find the Bluetooth. I don't see the word Bluetooth there anywhere, but I just might be missing it. Oh, it's in the chat. Oh, okay. Do you want to go and add it into the doc?
Yeah, just put it anywhere down here, maybe in the non-GPS navigation.
Bluetooth direction finding. All right.
Also, for scripting, I guess scripting is a feature now, an awesome feature. We never really discussed when it's feature complete, but I was thinking that if you could do everything in Lua that you can currently do on a mission, then it's like a complete feature. I don't know, that was just, so I thought that might be a worthy goal. I think it's actually not that far away from where we are. We already do a whole bunch of things you can't do in a mission, but there's still a few things that you can do in a mission that you can't do in Lua, like control the camera, for example. So I thought that might be a nice milestone.
Yeah, I'd like to see parameters. I don't know how we'll do it. Scripts creating parameter trees, because I mean parameters are the main way that our end users interact with configuring a vehicle. And if you're creating your own script, it's fine, you can embed all the parameters. But once we start having canned libraries of scripts, people will want to be able to configure them. And I'd love to be able to, for a script, to create a set of parameters, a tree of parameters for the script, which can then be interacted with with the normal, mavlink parameter interface.
Yeah.
And then what I'd love to see is some of the features that are more obscure actually move out of C++ into Lua script. I mean, a prime candidate would be something like Parachute, maybe, but maybe first we'd do things like EFI support, right? Because the EFI library is really just simple, when to run the starter, detecting RPM, that sort of thing. And actually move that to become a Lua script. But to do that, we have to have parameters, because we've got all these, configurations of RPMs and thresholds and PWMs and those sort of things. I don't know how we're going to achieve it, though. I haven't yet got a good idea as to how we're going to have parameters, persistent parameters in Lua scripts.
All right. Well, as a matter of process, I've stuck you and Michael DV's name against that one.
Yeah, I think I'll be brainstorming with Peter, actually, largely. It probably won't end up being that complex. Sorry, go on, Peter.
Spray's going to be, I was just saying to Randy, spray's going to be interesting because zigzag, the actual mode, now refers to a sprayer. So that's going to be some interesting little twists and turns, I think, there now.
Good point.
So having a mode kind of directly interacting with a Lua script in a rather intimate manner could be hairy.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'd
Oh,
actually
well.
like to do a flight mode. I think it'd be great to be able to do, like a fixed wing flight mode should be quite achievable in a Lua script, like figure 8 flight mode.
We can do the vertical circle already in Copter.
Is parachute a flight mode? It could be. It's certainly not doing whatever it was doing before.
I really think parachute's a bad idea to put on the Lua because it is flight critical, and Lua runs at the lowest priority, right?
Yeah. Your viewing pleasure, the circle. Sorry,
Where are you putting that, Randy?
Videos.
Ah, there it is.
Sorry, I'm doing a plug of my own video. I'm trying to get my viewers up, my views up.
Yep.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Because all 50 people watching it now don't count. You know that, right?
Damn, you're right.
Just leave them hanging. Don't show the end, and they'll have to go watch the ending themselves, Randy.
Welcome to OpenTX.
Now, under infrastructure, we need to fix coverity or equivalent.
Right down the very bottom.
I've just added in right down at the bottom under infrastructure, isn't it? Unless it's already in there somewhere.
Somebody's already added it. It's the very last line.
I just added it.
Kind of equivalent that Clang-based static analyzer. I'd like to get that clean. I already have some degree of auto test integration for it locally here. But if we can get it clean, then I can integrate it really nicely and easily into auto test because we just say, well, if it picks anything up, then we say no. It only picked up about 30 things in the code, some of which are real issues. So.
Well, before my headset goes flat, the only other thing I've got to talk about with infrastructure is the 400 odd pull requests and 1,000 odd issues that are still open. We really want to do that better. How can we do that better in the next 12 months?
That's hard. It's hard to know how because each of them is an individual case you've got to consider.
Yeah. Can we create an ecosystem that encourages it or something?
Yeah. So well, just on the project side, we've got those funding proposals in for the Bugmaster and support roles, and that should help a little bit. But we do need to get those two roles on under the organizational. Yeah, thanks for that, Randy. Yes, getting through some more of the old issues, cleaning some out, and the absolute number isn't what I'm concerned about. It's that just ones that do have merit not being attended to. That is quite common in this project, unfortunately. All right. So I'm coming up to the point where, I'm going to fall asleep fairly soon. I was up far too early this morning. How are we doing? What else do we want to cover in this session?
Well, how about full logger message documentation? That shouldn't take too long if people chip in.
Yeah, I think it's great what you've done. The existing stuff. I'm less keen on the enum stuff.
Did you see the pull request for plane? Yeah, I can bring you around on that. That's not a problem.
You reckon you'll? Yeah. So let's discuss that on the Tuesday Dev call a bit. The enum one, I'm not convinced.
Did you see the pull request for?
I did see a pull request for plane, and one of the things that I was surprised, I ran across a couple of messages that I didn't know they were there. I thought, oh, we had a message like that. So we may need to do a little bit of editing and removing a couple of, I think they're unused. like, I didn't realize we had an SONR for sonar message when we
Oh yeah.
used the rangefinder message. Why don't we drop the silly sonar message? We don't
Yeah,
use that for
definitely.
plane.
Yeah, we should definitely do one of those.
So rather than documenting it,
Tradition.
I'd rather just remove it.
Well,
Tradition.
well, have you considered that it might kill the automated log analysis that's in there? You know, it'll probably kill that.
I don't think that's
No,
quite a good enough reason to keep SONR, which, yeah.
Yeah, no, like I was saying, you know, people are complaining that we don't have enough bandwidth. Sorry, that the telemetry links don't have enough bandwidth, and we're shoving stuff down there that nobody really cares about anymore because it's just hanging around.
Well, MapLink message was.
Isn't that what we're talking about? Or we're talking about
log
you're talking about data flash log.
We were talking about log messages.
Ah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
With the organizational stuff, we need to have a think about, you know, the actual governance and financial structures as well. That's going to, you know, obviously require a fair bit of input from a number of people on the team and go to a full vote. So I wouldn't want to suggest an outcome on this, but I think we definitely need to look at it this year because we are. I'm not convinced we've got the best structure at the moment.
Yeah, it's definitely worth discussing. But I think I'll need to be a bit more awake for that one. All right. So what else anything else from the floor from our, you know, the conference attendees?
Yeah, like Leonard, happy with what's here? Leonard, you're out there? You happy?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. My thing's going to be pretty much getting all that S-curve stuff in there and pretty much bringing the waypoint navigation controller, the position controller up to speed, and all of the associated little quirks and niceties that's hopefully going to bring us. So yeah, it's going to be my focus. Hopefully a lot of that will get done over the next 3 months.
Do we have any plans to update our Chibios, like rebase Chibios?
I have done that recently. I actually have a test branch that brought us up to date. I did that a couple of months ago, and I did that I was tracking down a bug, and I thought, well, I'll want to get it running on the latest one. I didn't push it just because we were in a mode at the time where we were wanting maximum stability and a minimum number of changes, and it didn't actually bring us much benefit that I could see. But yes, rebasing it on a slightly later version is relatively easy. There just wasn't a compelling reason to do it. But I do have the branch available. You'll find the branch is actually sitting there under our Chibios repo in case you wanted to look at it. But if there's a particular feature from a newer version of Chibios that would drive that, we could certainly do it. So I wanted to ask a little bit about conference organization because you're the perfect audience for that. So I must say that the online conference actually worked surprisingly well. I was thinking it'd be a bit of a disaster, but for me, it's actually been quite an effective way of communicating. And I think this talks have been really good. So Randy and I have just discussed a little bit earlier. I still think the face-to-face getting together is brilliant. Like, particularly the bit I missed this year was the pre-conference, like going and hacking together. You know, the development sessions. That once we're allowed to travel again, I do think we should have that. But do people think that we should also have an online component? So try and do it as both face-to-face and online for next year? Are people generally supportive of that?
I'm very supportive of that. I think this is what
I would say every 6 months, alternating on every 6 months. So an online and a presential. So that will be 1 year for the attendees to meet, and every 6 months the online. So instead of 1-2 conferences a year.
Main reason every 6 months, just the amount of time to organize things and it takes quite a bit of time to create the talks and things. I wonder if we'd end up with quite the same quality of talks if we did it that often.
Online one.
I am wondering whether the partners calls should move on to Zoom, and we've been doing
so.
them on Mumble.
I think we should even consider
and
doing the weekly meetings on Zoom, the dev meeting.
that's a possibility. Yeah.
Just getting back to the conference, just my 2 cents here. I was thinking we could, basically do the, we have our, regular get together where everybody gets together, but then, maybe this is what everybody's thinking, but a parallel thing where, so we're publishing, in real time on Zoom, the talks as they're happening. And then, you can have a little chat there, and, the people who can't make it to the actual event can still, participate like they did this time. I'm sure it won't be quite as perfect, but.
Yeah, the key thing is the bandwidth. Can we get enough bandwidth at the conference location at the hotel to be able to actually have the talks going out in real time?
Yeah.
And
I think that's trivial, actually. I've been tethered against my
4G?
phone for the last few hours, and there hasn't been an issue.
Were you tethered against your phone when you were presenting, Peter?
No, that was directly connected, I believe.
Yeah, it's the
I
bandwidth
can't
when you're
recall that.
presenting is the main one. And
I could try sharing screen or whatever now. And see what happens.
You could? Yeah, do you want to try sharing a screen now? So
Yeah,
off Peter's hall,
intrigued
the
what's
little
going on
boats.
here at the moment.
Boats and planes.
Yep.
AIS and ADSB. Thanks to Mike Lobon.
That's right.
Very nice. Ah, that's what you asked for during your talk. Lovely.
Yeah, less than 24 hours turnaround time there. Excellent service.
Maybe we should add Michael Oborn's sleep in the thing for this year. Yes.
So is that actually working reasonably well, or?
Yeah, that's actually working quite well. That's just 4G on your phone?
Yep.
Okay. So obviously at conferences, when everyone's got their phone on and all going to the same tower, there often is more of a problem. But if it's a smallish group, it probably will work. Quite promising.
Yeah, I was thinking like, we have like a little stand with a little USB camera on it, something like that.
Can
and
you do video as well, Peter?
Presenter's laptop, and then they connect, to Zoom. They presumably already got their laptop and they connect to Zoom, and then, they just sort of beam out from there.
Can you turn on your video, Peter, to see if the video works as well?
Well, I was just going to try playing a video here, and
not quite the same thing. The live video from a camera will be less compressible.
Oh, I see. Yes.
I've done Zoom over a phone many times. There's actually a Zoom app for your phone.
Right. Okay. Well, hopefully that'll work. So I think we should try and aim. So is there anything else that people want to change about the conference? Obviously, we'll try and have we've got Ghost Peter. So it obviously hasn't registered your background quite right this time round. No worries. It's obviously working, Peter. That's all right. We'll the invisible Peter. So is there anything else about the conference we want to sort of change for next year? I mean, the time we've got at the moment is in April. I hope people have sort of seen the date, and we'll need to know in advance how many people we expect in person versus how many remote, so we can book the appropriate sized room.
How far in advance?
Well, preferably months in advance.
The other thing we did differently this time, Tridge, was split the sessions. We did that because of the circumstances. But if we are going to stream live in the future, even when we do have an in-person conference, it'd be interesting to see the feedback from the various attendees as to whether that was good, bad, indifferent.
It obviously was better for European people than having it just all in the Australian morning, because that's pretty awful for people in Europe. We'd need to do it as like dinner and a talk. If we had them at sort of 7 o'clock and we had people in person at the conference, we'd need to have like a talk, somehow combined with dinner. It's the combining it with the social activities that's the difficult part, I think.
If I may, I have some experiences with mixed present in conference. I mean, if everybody is in this single place, it works very well. If everybody is online, it works as well, because the people does not do any parallel conversations. When I try to mix some meetings, not so big as this one, but smaller meetings like 10 to 20 people, it's very hard for people who is attending online because who is physically near each other, speak clear, listen clear, and the remote people is very hard to understand the context and some parallel conversations. And the microphone, if you have 1-2 microphones, it's still hard to follow the conference if you're not there. I think this one is working great because everybody is online, so there is no parallel conversation, there is no parallel sounds, and everyone can listen quite well. A mixed one is not so simple. It's my perspective.
Yeah, I've had similar experience with being like the one person who's on, online. It can be quite a poor experience, but
it's a bit awkward.
It's hard to know what else to do because we could just say we're only ever going to have the conference online, but I really do enjoy the face-to-face interaction and the building and flying of vehicles that we've done at the conference the last 3 years.
It's priceless.
Yeah.
Face to face, we got to do it. It's just so good.
Yeah.
I mean, you could split out the talks, do the talks online, and then just have hanging out. I mean, then we'd get more of that.
So, all right. Well, we're going to leave the Skype chat open. I hope everyone here has been on that Skype chat. If anyone has come into the call today, not via the Skype chat and unaware, so whose legs are that? That's Buzz. Okay.
Buzz or
that's Buzz. Yep. Thank you, Buzz. Don't put the camera any lower. So if anyone isn't in that Skype chat for sort of discussion, then just ask somebody else is in the group and we'll add you into that chat. That's where we'll sort of keep discussing, the way we're going to organize the conference for next year. I do think this conference acts as a great sort of pivot point for the project, as a way of, reporting what's happening and planning and it tends to really push people to do those extra things that they wanted to do, to get them done in time for this conference. So it, at least for me, it works very well as a motivator. All right, so we're coming up to sort of the end of this session. Is there anything else we want to cover before we close off for this year?
I miss these stickers.
Well, I think Philip has made the stickers, or Hex has made the stickers, I should say, and I wouldn't be surprised if he'd be willing to mail one to you, or or just the design and print it out yourself. But that's a bit bizarre. Doesn't quite work for me, that one,
That's
Louis.
funny.
You're trying to impale me on a pile of swords. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Well, thanks to all the organizers as well. Tridge and all the others.
Oh, and also a huge thank you to Louis for the audiovisual support.
Yeah.
And Louis was going to come down and do all the AV in person, but I know that he's still got all the videos to do, and we've now got archives of all these videos from these talks. And Louis has very kindly volunteered to then turn those into videos to go up onto YouTube. So massive thank you to Louis for all his effort and assistance. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, James too as well, I'm sure. I think and some others.
Yes, James has also been very helpful, and there's been a whole group of organisers that we've had. We've had a separate little chat for organising things for the conference, and really appreciate. And thank you all very much to all of the speakers. I think it was a great lineup, and yeah, look forward to chatting to you during the year. So, all right, I think we might close off the conference there, and look forward to seeing many of you in person next year.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Everybody else.
Excellent.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Arrivederci.
Hasta la vista.
Thank you. Bye.
Really
Thanks,
good conference.
Thanks
Thank you
very much,
Rich.
Rich, for
Bye-bye.
organising it.
Yeah, no worries at all.